Welcome to Nouveau Riche Legacy. Classes in session. I will be your educator, Danielle Porterfield, aka Courtney Iceland. This lesson will focus on the stock market directly and how it applies to us as a people. I will also dive into some history of the stock market so it's understood as a whole. This is Stock Market 101. Let's begin. So, what is the stock market? The stock market is a mixture of public and private corporations that sell shares of their company for a constant stock reevaluation. Now, a lot of us are familiar with the Christopher Columbus story. Christopher Columbus sailed across the waters, quote unquote, found Americas, and then while he was there, he also seen that there were goods in these places that he was able to sell for money. Now, the story that a lot of people aren't familiar with is the story of slaves being the people that were on these voyages with these items to be sold for that large amount of money. So the story is that slave owners will have slaves, and as labored workers, these slaves will get on these ships and they would take these goods from these countries to other areas in order for them to be sold at a higher profit. Now, at this time period, there were such thing as pirates, and so sometimes these ships may not make it to that specific area that they were supposed to be going to, or the condition of the boat may not be enough to make it across these vicious waters. So, if they made it, they would basically give the investors that invested in these ships a higher percentage, on what it is that they put into the voyage to begin with. Now, if they did not make it, then they will lose their money, but to get rid of how much money they will actually lose, or to get rid of the amount of risk that they were putting in, these investors would invest in multiple ships, and this will allow them to diversify their particular portfolios. And it's very important to understand that because not a lot of people know that the stock market was built off of slavery. Also, not a lot of people that are African American invest into the stock market currently today. There's less than 30%. Also, there's not a lot of companies that are on the stock market, and it all revolves around slavery. But we'll move past that. Let's get into how you can get your company on the stock market. So, first, you'll create a business plan. And with that business plan, you'll pitch it to investors, whether they're retail investors or big corporations. And the investors that have the first crack at investing in your company are the ones that you want to go to, which means that they IPO. When you IPO your company, that's basically initial public offering. And this refers to the process of offering shares of a private corporation to the public by forming a new stock. Companies must meet requirements by exchanges and the Security of Exchange Commission, which is the SEC, to hold an initial public offering or an IPO. Companies hire investment banks to market, gauge demand, set the IPO price and date, and more. An IPO can be seen as an exit strategy for the company's founders and early investors realizing the full profit from their private investment, which means that you get the first crack at companies that could be like Google, Twitter, Apple, Amazon, and that is huge. Can you imagine being one of the first people to get at these companies? It would be insane. So, as more people get in on these companies, you will start to see these companies explode, just like those names that we gave, like Google, Twitter, and Apple. Okay? And how it works on the actual stock market is you buy and sell these stocks. It used to be a certificate of stock, but now these certificates are done on brokerages, and we'll get into those brokerages in a moment. But as demand increases, the price increases. So as the marketing, as the excitement, as the business grows, also that stock grows right along with it. And you can either buy or sell to get in on that action. And supply and demand are influenced by major factors such as shifting costs of labor, elections, new laws, fluctuating prices of materials, changes in technology, news, literally news. Okay, so we really seen that in 2020 when COVID hit, or in the Biden versus Trump elections. It had a major effect on the market at those particular times. Now, where are the stocks being traded at? Where are these places? Well, it's called the NYSE, or the New York Stock Exchange, which is a physical place. Now, other countries have their own stock exchanges. So this one, we're talking about just the Americas. But the NYSE, or the New York Stock Exchange, is one of the largest stock exchanges in the world. It's bigger than London, Tokyo, and NASDAQ markets combined. That's insane. Combined. The NASDAQ is the computer or the electronic trading space, and this was created in 1971. This is where companies like Apple and Facebook are traded on, which is huge in comparison to where we currently are headed in the world, especially now that we have crypto, which is not a part of the stock market yet, but it's moving inside of that same movement area. Now, when you're talking about the market, you'll hear certain terms. Now, the trends or how the market is moving, you'll either hear a bullish or a bearish market. Now, the reason why it's called a bullish market is because when a bull strikes, it strikes upward with its horns. And when a bear strikes, it strikes downward with its claws. Now, again, bullish meaning upward trend, or bearish meaning downward trend. There's also 4 types of asset classes. You have equities, fixed income, cash, or derivatives. An equity is owning shares of a company. So when you own any company, you have equity in that company. There's 3 types of equities. You have stocks, which is ownership in a company, mutual funds, which is a pool of investment dollars that are often professionally managed. One share in a mutual fund invests you into multiple companies. That is huge, okay? You also have ETFs. An ETF is an exchange trading fund, which is also similar to a mutual fund, only it's traded throughout the day like stocks, and it has lower fees. And I love ETFs. You also have fixed income. And fixed income is an amount that is invested on a consistent basis. For example, if you took $100 every 2 weeks and invested it in any asset, if that asset is less than $100, you're able to accumulate more than 1 share every 2 weeks. If that asset is $100, you'll at least have one of those shares every 2 weeks. We also call that compounding. When you take and you put the same amount over a long time period, you end up getting what it is that you want, and you grow your wealth over time. You can also use cash. Using savings or cash brokerage account gives you high liquidity and is easily able for you to cash out. It's low risk, but it doesn't grow as quickly. Now, there's also derivatives. A security contract between at least 2 people that price depends on another asset. And there's 3 different types of derivatives. You have options, futures, or forex. Option contracts that provides the bearer the right, not the obligation, to buy or sell an asset for a specific price by a specific date. Futures is a contract to buy or sell something at a predetermined price at a specified time in the future between parties not known to each other. And forex is the trading or exchanging of currencies, which is huge to understand. So when you get to learn like technical and analytical analysis, options and futures will be very easy for you to get in on. In Forex, again, it's the trading of the currencies. So this now puts in crypto inside of that, because it is now the trading of currencies, like, countries like El Salvador, whose money is actually, or currency is actually, Bitcoin. So Forex is the trading of the monies. Options and futures are the contracts that are trading of the businesses. Now, this uses leverage. And with these leverages on large assets or a small account of money, it is extremely risky. Your small accounts will blow out quicker than your larger accounts. Okay? That means that if something happens and you only have $50 in your account, you can lose that whole $50 a lot quicker with these smaller accounts. If you use a larger amount of money, you will have more space or a more time period for your account to blow out. Okay? Now, using leverage is still a very great tool to use. I leverage a lot of my trades, but again, that's because I know what I'm doing. When you use options, futures, or even Forex, these are all leverage trades or investments, because you can use them as investments. These are very important tools to understand individually. Now, with this, you'll start to build yourself a portfolio. A portfolio is a collective of all of your assets in one place. Now, with my portfolio, I like to allocate and diversify it, okay? So with that, the allocation will take mutual funds, will take derivatives, will take cash, and will take equities. And we'll put different percentages of our money in all of these different areas. That makes sure that if my account were to go down in one of these spaces, that my entire account won't get blown out. The same thing on the diversification side. We can change the sectors of where we put our money. So you can either put it in healthcare or shopping or transportation or utilities or technology. And again, this helps you not to put all of your money in one basket. Very important things to learn as well. Now, we've gone over a lot of things today. So let's recap. We've talked about the history of slavery and how it ties into the stock market. We talked about the different terms and ways for you to get inside of the stock market, whether it is you putting your business on the stock market with the SEC, or you investing as an actual retail investor using different tactics. My homework for you is to look at all of these things and to actually fully understand the small pieces that were just taught to you today, but getting into it a little bit more deeper. I'll provide different materials for you to look at so that you can go on a deeper dive inside of these particular subjects. Our next lesson will help you understand why this is so important, because we need to understand where we're going. And the stock market itself is changing tremendously, especially at this time in 2022. You can follow me on social media at Courtney Iceland, at Nouveau Legacy. We have our websites at CourtneyIceland.com, at NouveauRichLegacy.com. Like us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have Discord. We have Forex links and chat rooms all over the place. If you need to get a hold of me, the best place to do it is at Facebook or on my websites. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and class is out.